I might look a little hard at you. If I were really vulnerable, I might try to find that cat, the holy who? The holy who? The
Holy Ghost.
This has been believed by millions of people
Yeah, they really
who lived
do.
and died by it for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And when you attack it, you're accused of being blasphemous. I think the legend itself is a blasphemy.
Yeah.
What is wrong with a man and a woman sleeping together, making love to each other, and having a baby like everybody else?
It's true. It's not only...
Why has the Son of God got to be born immaculately? Aren't we all the sons of God? That's a blasphemy.
But we're not all the sons of God.
Well, it depends on what you mean by God.
Depends on who's doing it.
I've claimed him as my father. And I'll give him a great, great valor between now and the time, until it's over. Because God is our responsibility.
Well, I agree with that.
No.
You know, a lot of people don't realize, they think that we are God's responsibility.
No.
But it's one of him and what, 30 million of us.
That's right.
So,
And God's only hope is us.
It's true.
No. If we don't make it, he ain't gonna make it either.
He'd be in bed. Yeah, now, people are funny about sex, which I never understood.
Well, they're
Except
terrified
on
of
the
it.
terms of-
Same way the people are. It's not about sex either. It's not about sex. Sex is not really the problem. Love is the problem. When you're a kid, when you're a 16-year-old boy, 15-year-old boy, what does he want really? He wants release.
15-year-old girl.
Oh, yes, and there's nothing yet at that moment yet to do really with love, because love is something which comes much later, really. A kid loves you in a certain way because he needs you. Mm-hmm. But later on, when you're a man or a woman, it has to be much more reciprocal. You love somebody because you need each other.
Right.
But one's not capable of this idea, when you're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, when everything is sexual and everything is being discovered.
Mm-hmm.
That's why so many of our kids turn into junkies, which we won't go into at the moment.
Hey, but let's come back to
We'll come back to it, But the great question is not that. The great question is, you see, if it seems to me that the black male, situation of the black male is in microcosm, the situation of the Christian world. The price of being a black man in America. God bless you.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
It's the weather.
The price you had to pay, the price you're expected to pay, and which you have to outwit, is your sex. No, a black man is forbidden by definition, since he's black, to assume the roles, the burdens, the duties, and the joys of being a man. In the same way that my child produced in your body did not belong to me, but to the master. He could be sold at any moment.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I can follow that.
And this erodes a man's sexuality. When you erode a man's sexuality, you destroy his possibility to love anybody. Though sex and love are not the same thing, if the man's sexuality is gone, then his possibility, his hope of loving is also gone.
He has no way to express. He has limited ways to express.
He has absolutely no floor on which to dance, no room in which to move, no way to get from one day to the next. Because to make love to you is not the same thing as taking you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a journey which most people have got to make with each other.
But why do black men, why do we allow this to happen?
Look, when I begin to talk about the situation of black men, I'm nearly 50, so that I've got to avoid sounding, in any way defensive, because
No,
I don't mean that I think that you're attacking me, but you asked me a question which I'm trying to answer as honestly as I can. I have to look back over my own life, and you save yourself if you have any sense at all, and if you're lucky enough. If you lose your center, and let's say the center is your sex, if you lose that, if you allow that to be destroyed, then everything else is gone. And you have to figure out a way of saving it from the landlord. Because after all, I had to watch my father and what my father had to endure to raise 9 children on $27.50 a week when he was working. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't know what the man was going through at all. I didn't know why, he was always in a rage. I didn't know why he was impossible to live with. But I had not had to go through yet his working day. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't quit his job because he had the kids to feed. He couldn't say, as our kids can, I don't like white people. He couldn't say anything. He lived his whole life in silence except in the church. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't explain, how can you explain to a 5-year-old kid, my boss, called me a nigger and I quit. And the kid's belly's empty and you see it. And you gotta raise the kid. You got to raise the kid. And your manhood is being slowly destroyed hour by hour, day by day. Your woman's watching it. You're watching her watch it. And the love that you have for each other is being to be destroyed hour by hour and day by day. It's not her fault, it's not your fault, but there it goes because the pressures under which you live are inhuman. My father finally went mad. And I understood when I became a man how that could happen. It wasn't that he didn't love us, he loved us. It wasn't that he didn't love his wife, our mother. He loved her. But he couldn't take it. Day after day and hour after hour, being treated like a nigger. On that job and in those streets and on those subways. And then coming home to his children who didn't understand him at all, who were moving further and further away from him because they were afraid of him. And also, which is even worse, afraid of the situation, the condition, which he represented. He was, after all, for a kid, you begin to see when you're called a nigger, you look at your father, because you think your father can rule the world. Every kid thinks that, and your father cannot do anything about it. And then you begin to despise your father, and you realize, oh, that's what a nigger is. And it's not your father's fault. And it's not your fault. It's the fault of the people who hold the power, because they have deliberately trained your father to be a slave. And they deliberately calculated that if he is a slave, you will be a slave. You will also accept it. And it will go on forever, and slavery will last 1,000 years, which slaveholders said and believed. And now the bill is in. And they want from me, or from you, sympathy and understanding. I understand it all too well. And I have all the sympathy in the world for that spiritual disaster. But I have no pity. The bill is in. We paid it. Now it's your turn.
It's like a funny situation to be in, because like we were poor, but maybe unfortunately for somebody like me, not poor enough to relate to it. In that, we had enough to eat it like that, things like that. So that my relationship to that whole syndrome, which remains true, I'm 28 to this day, is that I really don't understand it. I don't understand how on one hand, you say you're talking about like a black man, that he can be nothing in the streets and so fearful in his home, that he can be brutalized by some white person somewhere and then come home and treat, my mother, the same way that he was being treated, which perpetuates, you take somebody like me, I'm not married, right?
Yes, but Nikki,
I couldn't play my mother.
Yes, I know.
You know what I mean? I just couldn't deal with it. I said, no, this won't work.
But Nikki, it is also true that since your mother played that role, you haven't got to.
I couldn't.
But you haven't got to, that's the point. Because she did.
But her mother did.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes, but that's how we got here. What I really am trying to say is I don't want us to underestimate the price paid for us.
I have a great deal of respect for those people, for my parents, for people that I don't know, for the whole, everybody who's shuffled. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's a phenomenon to me how you could be mistreated and then come home and mistreat someone the same way in order to...
First of all, Nikki, you say mistreated, or I say mistreated. No. But in the mind of the person who is doing it, he's not mistreating you.
No, I'm not dealing with that.
Well,
I'm not going to even, I mean, let's not for a minute. Let's say in the mind of, let's say your father, who is just an example, or the mind of my father, you know what I mean? He is being mistreated. I'm not going to deal with the cracker that's mistreating him. I'm going to deal with him. He knows that he is not being treated with the respect due him as a person, as a black man. Okay. In order to like get that together, when he comes into that house, he begins to like brutalize my mother, for example. You see what I mean? Which becomes like a phenomenon to me, because I don't like white people and I'm afraid of black men, right? If you could follow what I'm saying without anybody writing a letter and saying sister, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can.
Okay, so what do you do?
Listen, you have to. I think
it's a cycle.
Of course it is, but you see, this is one of the reasons I don't protest, but try to make clear that the words white and black don't mean anything. You know, a man comes home. You know, he is in a situation which he cannot control. He is a human being. It's got to come out somewhere. A poor Puerto Rican several years ago, for example, it's alleged. But I can see if this happened, why it happened. Cat came home and the 3-month-old baby was screaming, and, you know, as babies do. And he killed it. He didn't mean to kill it. He picked it up and threw it against the wall.
Yeah, I read about
He didn't mean to kill it. It wasn't that. I understand, you know, because I've been there. I know something about that. I don't know if it happens to a woman, but it happens to a man. You cannot do anything. They got you. They got you. They got you by the throat and by the balls. And of course it comes out. It comes out where would it come out? It comes out in the person closest to you.
I was going to say that's so wrong, because what you perpetuate...
Nikki, it may be wrong.
I hate to use those kind of terms.
But Nikki, it may be wrong. Of course it's wrong. But we're dealing with human beings. You know, one cannot be romantic about human nature. One cannot be romantic about one's own nature.
That's not fair. I don't think that I'm romantic, but...
No, I don't mean that you are.
I have seen how the community, and even today in 1971, even today there are divisions based on those same kind of problems.
That's right.
So that the black men say, in order for me to be a man, you walk 10 paces behind me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well...
It means nothing. I can walk 10 paces behind a dog. It means nothing to me. But if that's what he needs, I'll never get far enough behind him for him to be a man. You know what I mean?
Look,
I'll never walk that slowly.
Look, Nikki, if at the very great risk of seeming to pull rank.
No.
You know.
Pull rank. You know
I'm not.
Go on.
I'm not. No. But no, I don't mean that. But
No.
what I do mean is that a great many things which seem, if I may say so, new to you are not new to me.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can say then, okay, I see what the cat's doing. I know how long, I can tell you almost exactly how long he will do it. You know, I know that a great deal of what passes for black militancy right now is nothing but a fashion. You know,
At best.
You know, at best. Something will rest, something will remain. What is important about it is not the details, not the given, you know, people, you know, or the given so-called leaders or any of that jazz, you know. What is important is the impulse out of which it has come, the ferment out of which it has come, which it reveals too, and what's valuable in it will remain, and the rest will go.
Yeah, but what's...
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, what's sort of sad to me is that the same syndrome that, say, our fathers set up, coming from many, you know what I mean? My father is your age. And the same syndromes that they set up, well, you know, he's a little bit older, 55. But the same...
A little bit older, 55. Thank you, baby.
Well, 7 years older. The same syndromes which is being set up, is being perpetuated, is that once again, the black man is becoming the figure to slide away from. You know what I mean? That once again, the black man is the figure that you say, well, I can't handle that. And if you visit with the States, or, you know, you talk to people enough, you'll see that same syndrome, you know, the little guys that are standing around crossing their arms, and they're not lovable. They're not giving any love. They could give a damn about me. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate, because I need love.
Yes, but sweetheart, what you're saying is very, very serious. I'm not in the least denying it, because you're perfectly right. But the only way we can get through it, I think, and it's demanding a great deal of you, but one's got no choice but to demand a great deal of you, is that you understand. Look, let us say let us say I'm King Oliver.
All right.
Right? And I'm a pretty good musician.
A very good musician.
Mm-hmm. And somebody called, let us say, Bing Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who couldn't carry a tune from here to here, right?
Right. White Christmas.
Right?
It's true.
Now I watch this little white boy become a millionaire. Become a millionaire. Many times over. I can't get a job. You know, and time goes on. You get older. You get more weary. And since you cannot get a job, your morale begins to be destroyed, and the body begins to fail you. Your death approaches. All because, being a man, you've never been able to execute what a man ought to be able to do. And this is not for anything that you have done or not done by some arbitrary sentence. How in the world, if I can't get a job, if I can't even get my axe out of the pawn shop, if I can't even get money to get on the subway, how am I going to love anybody except in such an awful pain and rage that nobody could bear it? I'm not trying to defend it, I'm trying to make you see it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
I do, but because maybe I'm hopeful, or because I've structured my life in a way that I won't...
I don't, by the way, think that what I'm describing is any longer true for your generation. I don't mean that.
But I see the same, what I keep saying is that I see the same syndromes in the same guys that I have to deal with now.
Yes, but my dear, what you have to see is also, you got to, look, think about the kid. Think about the kid, you know. What you're going through is one thing, and I'm not trying to minimize it. I'm not trying to minimize.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
I'm not trying to. I don't even mean you personally.
Yeah, I know. The generation is not.
Yes, I don't mean. No, I don't mean you, Nikki, exactly.
No, I hope that nobody. No. I'm not talking about me that much.
I know. But what I do mean is that simply assume for the moment. The kid is a useful metaphor because it carries you past one moment
into the next,
into another moment. Because no matter what happens to me or to you, one's responsibility is somewhere else. So it's a terrible Tuesday and a wretched Friday. But, you know, the kid don't know that. And then you begin to see that what looked so awful on Wednesday or on Friday, or is awful, but it's not eternal. You can get through it.
Hopefully.
And when you get through it, you can understand it.
Okay. We're not like in disagreement. What I'm trying to maybe get you to relate to is that, and I lay it on black men because I'm a black woman.
You have every right to.
I'm sure it's that arbitrary.
No, you have every right to.
But a guy, let's say a guy's going with girl.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're going with Maybelle. And Maybelle gets pregnant. All of a sudden, you can't speak to Maybelle because you don't have the money for a crib, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She doesn't need a crib. The baby's gonna sleep someplace. If you can follow me for 2 seconds, wait. Baby's gonna sleep someplace. The baby's gonna eat something. But what she needs at that moment is a man. Mm-hmm. And in order, if the man functions as a man, mm-hmm. which is not necessarily a provider for all that stuff, because mm-hmm. everybody can understand why you can't buy something. You don't have a job. You didn't have a job when you were always going to bed. Mm-hmm. Why are you gonna get a job because she got pregnant? You understand? There's no job. But what she needs is a man to come by and say, hey, baby, you look good. And black men refuse to function like that because they say, I want to bring the crib when I come.
Baby,
you're never going to get the crib.
Baby.
Bring yourself.
Baby, I agree with you. I understand what you're saying, you know. But let me tell you this. You know, you may be absolutely right, and you are right from your point of view.
It's arbitrary.
But you have to understand my point of view.
I'm trying.
You know. And from my point of view, well, if you were pregnant, I would act very differently. That's but that's me. That's something else. But from the man's point of view, given the fact, as we said much earlier, that the standards of the civilization into which you were born are first outside of you. And by the time you get to be a man, they're inside of you. And this is not susceptible to any kind of judgment. It's a fact. If you're treated a certain way, you become a certain kind of person. If certain things are described you as being real, they're real for you, whether they're real or not. And in this civilization, a man who cannot support his wife and his child is not a man. And this is also for example, in the welfare rules. Yeah. The black man has always been treated as a slave, and of course he reacts that way, one way or another. And you can blame him on a human level if you like, but I think it's more interesting you have to understand it. The bag the cat is in.
But it's so...
because how can I... I'm not being rational. And I may love you, especially if I love you. How in the world I can't come with nothing.
But it's not...
I know it doesn't make any sense, Nikki, but a man is built like that.
You see, when we talk about the children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we talk about, like, let's say my little boy, your nephew, something like that. We talk about how are we going to create the new child in the same old syndrome? Well, somebody has to fake it enough. You understand? Somebody has to say, hell no, I can't buy you a bicycle. You don't need one. Yeah, and smile about it so the kid can say, I'm not afraid of Daddy.
But sometimes that happens, and after all...
But not enough to talk... when we talk about the group.
Yeah, but wait.
We're talking about the group.
Hold the phone, baby. It has begun. Something has begun. The fact that we're talking about it is a beginning.
It's very important.
It's very important indeed. Look, I've had to learn in my own life, I want this. I want it Friday. And Friday comes and I've worked my behind off to get it, get something done that it don't come. It doesn't come for 20 years. Then you use that 20 years. Look, life is a very short and very long time. It is, really it is, And it's very important not to get hung up on any given detail, because what is there, like the fact that you're a woman and the fact that I'm a man, that's going to be there forever, and we're going to have to deal with that forever.
From the beginning, Sure.
And we have to deal with it from day to day, because if we love each other, we both know it. The tragedy is we both know it, and the greater tragedy is that it's destroyed by things which have nothing to do with you and nothing to do with me. A man is built as he's built, and there's nothing one can do about that. A man is not a woman.
That's true.
And whether he's wrong or right, look, if we're living in the same house, and you're my wife or my woman, I had to be responsible for that house. And I'm not allowed to be responsible for that house. I'm no longer in my own eyes. It doesn't make any difference what you may think of me. In my own eyes,
that's right.
I'm not a man.
That's the
you see what I mean?
It does indeed make a difference what I think about it, because I could be perfectly willing, and as a matter of fact, I am perfectly willing to concede that first of all, a man is a natural aggressor. You know what I mean? I don't care if I walked up to you and said, "Let's go to bed." You are the aggressor in that situation, because it all depends on you. I could fool myself. I could fool my friends. Like, yeah, I got him. It depended on you. You see, so I'm never confused on that level.
Yeah,
but I've seen so many people get so hung up in such crappy, superficial kind of things that for lack of being able to bring a steak in the house, they won't come. I can get my own damn steak.
Nikki,
I need you,
Nikki,
and that's what the black. No, really, I mean, that's to me what the black.
Yeah,
man
but Nikki, you're perfectly right. But you're being. But you're being perfectly rational.
But it's a rational situation.
Yeah, but love is not a rational situation.
Love must be. It must be rational. Because this irrationality that we have does not work. It destroys people.
I quite agree with you, but this is something we have to confront. When I was 22, I was about to get married. And for several reasons, I threw my wedding rings in the river, and that was when I split. Decided I would leave. I didn't get married partly because I had no future. It's very, very important.
You had no future.
I had no
Right,
future.
sure.
No, you got to go back to where I was.
Yeah, 22.
You know,
Okay.
I had no future. I couldn't keep a job, you know, because I couldn't stand the people I was working for, and nobody could call me a nigger. And since I was small, you know.
Yeah, the little man.
You know. So I split, you know. Now, I love that girl, and I wanted children. But I already had 8, and they were all starving.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, it would have been an act of the most criminal irresponsibility to bring another mouth into the world which I could not feed.
Yeah, but you see, those weren't your children. Those were your father's children.
My father was dead.
That's not the
And
point.
as far as they knew then,
That's not what one cannot, and I'm not
I'm
knocking
not-
your
I'm-
life, you know
I'm
what I
not-
mean?
I'm
'Cause
not-
I could, but one cannot be responsible for what one has
I
not
said
produced.
we are not being rational.
But I said we must. I mean, that's
No.
my quarrel with
No,
the
no,
world.
no.
We
My-
must
my-
become rational.
Those are my brothers and sisters.
They were your brothers
Rational or
and
not,
sisters,
they were
but they were
starving.
your father's children
But
and your mother's children.
That was my father's responsibility. As far as I was concerned, they belonged to me.
Do you know what your life, and I'm saying it like that.
You know what I mean?
I'm trying to. Do you know what your life looks like, though? And this is what's happening also today. It looks like a black man can't make it with a black woman. If somebody looks at the two of us, man, we're the weirdest looking people on earth because you went your way and I went my way, which is saying the same thing, and that's sort of a shame to
But
say
Nikki,
that I can't
Nikki,
have a black man
but
standing with me,
Nikki.
and you can't have a black woman because we wouldn't be who we are if we had, and that's a fact.
But Nikki, we are here. We met.
Oh, you and I met.
Yes.
But I'm talking about for the statement, man. You're looking like a Huey Newton.
Yeah.
He can't make it with a black. Who could be his woman?
We don't know.
Oh, it's such a shame.
We don't know that much about the man.
We know what the image.
Yeah, but
we know what we've seen.
Let us forget the image. We don't know anything at all about the man.
We know a little bit.
Let us assume we don't.
Okay, let us assume we don't.
No. If, insofar as it's true, that Huey, for example, cannot make it with a black woman, I don't know that that's true.
I don't know that it's true. I'm saying that to date.
That is part of the trap, to make one believe that. I don't believe that myself, you know. It's part of a societal illusion which you're expected to believe, so that you can react to it and be distracted from the main point, which is one's relationship to each other.